We are live. Welcome to the Friends with Benefits podcast.
Well,
Everyone, we're on episode 44.
is it 44?
Yeah,
Okay.
episode 44. How you doing, Pansy?
I'm good, Justin. How are you?
I'm
How
good.
are you
I'm
feeling
good.
better?
Yeah, I woke up this morning feeling like garbage, which I was hoping, to start the new year with a little bit more energy and a little bit more, feeling good. But apparently the gods of
You, yeah, but you
business
wore
and
yourself ragged, dude. Like,
yeah, well, I don't think that's what it was though. I think I
no.
went out to see a friend I haven't seen for a long time, and he was at a hotel, and we hung out outside and we hung out inside, and we were outside, and I just had my shirt on. I just was wearing my shirt and whatever, didn't have a sweater on or anything, and it got kind of cold, so I was just sitting out there for a little while, probably too longer than I should have, and I think that's probably what helped it along, but. Um, I enjoyed myself for the majority of the holiday season. I always like Christmas time and having family around and stuff. I enjoy that for the most part. It can get hectic though, it can get very, very hectic. And so
I think it
but
was a nice Christmas.
it was we flew Pansy out to California and Pansy spent Christmas with us, which was fun. And California Christmas, there's no real snow unless you're up in the mountains.
I
So
didn't mind. I wasn't missing
yeah,
it.
it was
Like,
it was rainy in California is what it
yeah,
was,
that,
unfortunately.
yeah, that kind of put a damper on some stuff, but
Some
not
stuff.
too bad. I mean, I think we still did a lot of stuff.
We did. Yeah, we did. Pansy and I both are very like I like the outdoors. I like being in the outdoors. I like going and seeing cool stuff in the outdoors and all of that. We like driving around looking at properties and being out and whatever, but um so we did some of that too, which was cool. But I am, we wanted to have this podcast one because like we didn't advertise it. We didn't advertise the last one really that much either because of just it's the holidays. So we were in the middle of all of the holiday stuff
But
and we didn't
still trying to do
but
business.
still trying to do business. And we also we didn't have any guests scheduled for either of these two shows because it's again it's the holidays, it's New Year's, it's very difficult to nail someone down for a show because of that. And we understand that, right? And but we wanted to make sure we were coming on
Being
and being
consistent.
consistent, providing value and being here for everybody. So anyways, all of that being said, thank you guys who are watching us and who are, taking part. This is a networking Zoom, by the way. So if any of you guys do see this while we're live, jump in because it's all about networking and connecting with folks. So that's where the Zoom link is for. Register and jump in with us. And if you have questions or if you just want to hang out, come on in. Um, but I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful for the new year. We got, another year down. We've accomplished some things, right? Maybe not everything we wanted to accomplish, but we did accomplish some things and we moved forward, which is the most important thing. We took a step forward and we're in a different place than we were, and we're making progress, right? That's one of the most important things. And to keep going and being consistent. I
Yeah,
would
I
say,
wanted to bring up some stuff
sure.
because, and it's been a hot topic among many people recently about partnerships,
Mhm.
um, and due diligence, right, on people. Um, when I first came in, like, I thought I looked at partnering with people a lot differently than I do now.
Mm,
Um, I came in thinking you find the people that already know what they're doing and, pretty much try to team up with them, right? Um, but just because they know what they're doing doesn't necessarily make them the right partner. Um,
right,
you know, People still do shady things sometimes
right.
and whatnot. And um, So it got me just thinking more like why I chose certain partnerships along the way, and obviously those didn't work.
Hmm.
Um, and possibly why ours does, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it's hard to find people you trust and who are going to be consistent and all of that, which,
well, yeah,
that's hard, right?
I agree. Um, the
Hmm.
trust part is definitely, one of them.
Hmm.
Um, but
Hmm.
I don't want to put people's names out there, but
Hmm.
somebody was mentioning how they clicked with someone at an event and they ended up getting into a deal with this person, and then the person, when things got tough, pretty much
Took off.
ghosted them, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
um
Yeah,
and
I hear that so much. It's really unfortunate how much I hear about stuff like that.
yeah, so I'm just saying, like, because when we started the podcast we were talking about the partnerships and whatnot,
Hmm.
and I think it's good to maybe start the new year there
Come
again,
full circle. Hmm.
and kind of talk to people about partnerships, and maybe it would help for them to understand how we chose the wrong partners and how we feel now we chose the right partner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really love to, and if anybody wants to jump in, and even we've got our friend Clyde in here with us right now too. I would love to hear any stories that you guys have about partnerships that went well or partnerships that went wrong, and some of the things that you would do different. I know, um, for me, I always kind of go back to some of the stuff I learned from Pace, which is you've got to date for a little bit first, right? Before you become full-fledged partners. And sometimes that's not easy to do. Like when you have a deal on the table and you need someone to partner with you, in order to get that deal done, sometimes you just got to go for it, right? But is that the right way to go about it? Probably not. Like if it's a situation where you have to partner with somebody that you're not really familiar with in order to get a deal done, maybe don't do that deal, right? That would be my answer to that. It's the same thing where if somebody's calling you and saying they need $20,000 by the end of the week in order to close a deal, lend me the money right now, red flag, right? Like I don't, especially if you don't know that person. If you've got a great relationship with that person, that's one thing. But if you don't know that person, that's why we say, build the network, build the relationships before you need them, right? And partnerships take time. Partnerships take time. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to understand one another and be able to figure out each other's strengths and where the best each other is best placed in the business, right? Um, so you gotta go through that and you gotta learn about your partner. That's why Pace always says you gotta date first. You have to date first.
Yeah, but Carly earlier brought it up, like, she's like, people don't look at it the way it should. Really, partnership is a marriage.
Well,
If
yeah,
like,
100%.
and how you handle things says a lot,
Yeah.
right? You know, I mean, um I remember some people I was talking to about some lending, and
Mhm.
they said I'd rather end up in a bad deal with good people,
Mm.
you know,
Ooh, I
than,
like that. I like
and
that.
it's like, I was like, I don't know about that, but at least,
It sounds
if you
good.
vet people, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? If you vet, like you and I know for a fact that things start to go south or whatever, that neither one of us are just going to be like, oh, well, that's your
Yeah,
problem,
see ya. I'm not
you
gonna
know?
call you. I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm just gonna
Like,
ghost you. Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead, take care of that. I'll talk to you later, you know?
No, no. Yeah.
You
No,
know?
but that, you know what? I always say this, you always find out truly who you're dealing with when there's real money on the table, and you always find out also who you're dealing with when problems come up and problems get difficult, right? Some people thrive in high stress, difficult situations where and they can make decisions quickly and they can kind of operate really efficiently and effectively in those situations. In fact, those people have the ability to kind of slow things down, right? For themselves, but still be able to make, and navigate difficult situations. That those are the kind of people you want, especially in a startup and especially in, high stress situations. Those are the folks that you want. Um, Business is problems. That's what it is. Business is problems. So you're gonna keep it's gonna constantly be that way. If the idea, actually, I'll bring this up in a minute, but I was listening to a really good show with Beardy Brandon. If you guys don't know who Brandon Turner is from Bigger Pockets, go check him out. Um, but he talks about it. He's like, if you want a simpler life with less responsibility, you got to go bigger. It's like the opposite of what you would think, right? Because if you're running a small mom and pop shop and you're doing all the things, you have no time. You have no time. You're doing everything. So you have to go bigger. So then you can start hiring people and getting yourself out of the minutia, right? Um, and it's the same, when you have partnerships, you guys got to come together and figure out what you really want. Like, what's the goal of the game, right? Because there's a good book called I'll put the title in here. There's a good book called Life and Air. It's spelled like sort of like millionaire, but instead of million, it's life onair, right? Um, and the whole point of the book is the goal of the game determines how you play the game. So like if the goal of Monopoly is to buy all of the properties and make all of the money, you're going to play a certain way. But if the goal of Monopoly was to just however many times you go around the board, the person who goes around the board the most times wins, then you're going to play the game a different way. So the same thing goes if the goal of your life is to make a bunch of money and that's the goal, then you're going to play a certain way. But if the goal is something different than that, like freedom and less responsibility, less stress, then you're going to play the game a different way. So that's what you got to decide as I would say as a partners, you've got to come together and figure out what the goal is. If you don't have a collective goal together that makes sense to both of you, then you're going to constantly be pushing and or like, well, pushing and pulling, but going sort of random directions. You need to be going the same direction and collaborate. And that was one of my biggest problems with early partners was it was just like it at the end of it, it was like we realized, oh, we wanted different things. At the end of the day, we wanted different things. That's what it is. So you got to figure that out. And you got to date for a little while. So I'll just reiterate what Pace's, you know, advice is. You got to date for a while and figure out who you are actually dealing with and meet each other in person. If all you're doing, like Pansy and I have met each other in person a few times and spent time with each other, we have a pretty good idea of who each other is, right?
Yeah, I liked
Um,
him before I met him in person. No, I'm just
yeah. So
kidding.
anyway, it's important. Just like, building relationships, if you're doing it all on Zoom and online, there's not, it's not the same thing as meeting people in person.
I agree. I agree.
Um,
I think
yeah.
you could put on a certain, I guess, face or
Mhm.
persona
Mhm.
if you never have to meet the person and
Yeah,
like actually face to face.
that's
Um,
right. That's right. I don't know what it is. Well, like we're not, I don't think human beings, like our brains, I don't think have caught up to the technology yet. We're not built to meet and interact with each other through a screen. We're built to interact with each other in real life, in person. That's how you get a real sense of somebody, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree.
Because you like if it's just online stuff, you can be anyone you want, right? You can tell anybody anything. Um, and now obviously sooner or later, if you're just full of crap, it's gonna eventually come out. But um, you know, as a partnership, you don't it's not good to just be always meeting online. You got to figure out a way to come together in person and meet each other and get to know each other and date for a while. So that's my thought on that. What about I don't know where you stand on the like meeting in person thing, but I think that's
Well, I didn't want to like um officially say we were partners until I met you in person. I wanted to know
yeah,
that like the person I met online was really the person I'm gonna
yeah,
meet,
yeah,
because people can be different, Um, some people are more confident online than in
yeah,
person. I get some of that too.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Clyde had a good, we were talking about meeting in person, but he was saying like that's why the generation growing up now is gonna have problems or has the problems that they have with social skills because everything is done online. My niece was talking about some political thing, and I'm like, where did you get that information? She's getting her information from memes online. It's like, don't get your information, especially
I know
political.
we had a little talk when I was there, and she was not happy with me at all.
Yeah.
Trying to tell me that, oh, you are not getting information from both sides. Da, 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 da. I'm like, oh,
hmm
girly, like,
Don't even go there, dude. Yeah,
I'm like,
that's why I tell them too. Like, we're not going to talk religion and we're not going to talk politics. Those two topics, like, and JJ talks about this too. Is like those are exclusionary topics. That's
yeah,
what those are. They exclude people, and we're not trying to exclude people. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your religion is. I care if you're truthful and you're consistent and you do what you say you're going to do. That's what I care about. Um, you know, and I know in business sometimes like there's this idea that you gotta step on people to get ahead and business is cutthroat and this and that. It's not true. It's actually not true. Right? There's plenty of successful investors, successful business owners that did not have to step on people to get ahead, did not have to take from other people to get ahead.
I
Um,
agree.
and it's
Like, that's what I
unfortunate,
was looking for,
yeah,
because I've seen a lot of people climb up, but they did it.
at the expense of other people. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
that's not me, not at all. In fact, I want to build something that brings those people with me,
yeah.
you
Well,
know?
like you've heard the term violence begets violence, right? Well, stepping on people to get ahead begets stepping on people to get ahead. So it's going to happen to you. That's you invite that when you do it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, 100% from a young age, I've always thought like, yeah, put shit out there, whatever you put out
100%.
is gonna come back one way or
100%.
another. And it doesn't always happen right away either,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, but some people call it karma, whatever, but I just honestly always have wanted to, I guess, like wake up or go to sleep knowing that I, as an individual, didn't like hurt or harm anyone, right? That I was a good person to anybody that I did encounter that day
Yeah.
for,
Mhm.
um, and I just try to live by that. Just be a good person all the time. Like, it's not an act, right? It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
you know? No, great things don't always happen just because I'm, good to people, but
Mhm.
a lot of good things have happened, a lot of crappy things have happened too. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm choosing to look at the good stuff over the
Yeah.
bad stuff
Yeah.
because it's just life.
Well, I look, it's all a learning experience. It can all be a challenge. but every challenge, every problem is a chance, and that's how I'm looking at it now. It's a chance to learn something. Instead of getting angry and staying angry because a problem came up, it's okay, a problem came up. What can I learn from this? What am I going to be able to learn from this problem? And you know what? Alex Hormozy talks about this too. And by the way, Vernine, welcome to the podcast. One of our friends, Vernine, is on here right now. Welcome. Thank you for hanging out with
What's
us.
up, Ernene?
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. And again, if you have questions or you want to jump up with us on the show, just raise your hand and we'll bring you up. So just FYI. Um, so Alex Hormozy talks about this. He says, get good or get addicted to doing and handling the hard problems, doing the hard things. And instead of looking at it like, oh man, I've got this hard thing to do, you got to change the perspective to, I've got this hard thing to do. Too bad for everyone else that's not willing to deal with it because because I'm just going to get way farther ahead than everybody else, right? Instead of poor me, it's poor everybody else, right? It's an interesting way to look at it. I kind of like that way of looking
Yep.
at it. So this year, every year seems for me, it's like every year starts the same way. You got new calendars, new goals, a lot of people quietly, asking themselves the same question, is this going to be my year? Like, are we finally going to have the year that we want, or am I going to have to wait longer? So Pansy and I have been through enough market cycles at this point, to
Buy
basically,
anything right now.
yeah, well, to tell you that most market cycles tell you something that most headlines don't, and that is that the most important years never feel obvious when you're going through them. And for us, these years that we're going through, these years that feel like this is it, like these years that feel like you're kind of inching along, right? Where it doesn't feel like you're really doing much. These are the most important years. And actually my other business partner Mark talked about this before, but if you heard of the story of the bamboo tree, right? If anybody's heard the story of the bamboo tree, let me know.
I'm
But
sure I have. I just,
the idea is that a bamboo tree is planted, a bamboo seed is planted. A gardener is planting a bamboo seed, and every year or every day, every month, every week, he waters the plant and nothing happens. And the village people make fun of him, like, why are you tending this thing? It's not even growing. Look at your neighbors. They've grown flowers, fruits, and all this stuff, and you're still watering this thing and nothing's even happened. But the thing is, the whole time he's been watering it and treating it, the root system has been growing. So then all of a sudden, one year, the bamboo tree shoots up from nothing to 20 feet tall, right? And that's how in reality, that's how bamboo trees are. You don't see anything happening for multiple I think at least a couple of years. And then finally it just overnight almost the bamboo tree shoots up to like 10 feet, right?
they can
And
grow pretty quickly.
yeah,
We had some, the decorative ones where they
yeah,
one point were curled and then they like capped it so it wouldn't grow
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
And me, I'm a curious person. I'm like, what happens if I pop these caps off?
Yeah, and they shoot up, right? And
Yeah,
yeah.
so they started to sprout more. I'm like, cool. And then we ended up with a whole bucket of tall bamboo. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this.
Well, right, but the point is like these years that you're going through, these months or whatever, where it feels like nothing's happening, a lot of stuff is actually happening. A lot of
Yeah,
learning and growing is happening. So that when you get to, that's why when people win the lottery, that's why you know, nobody respects that. You found a cheat code and you cheated and got all this money and you have no clue what it is, right? And that's why most people that win the lottery wind up broke again or, committing suicide. You hear all this stuff, right? Because they don't know what it is. They haven't gone through the hard lessons to learn what it is to have that kind of wealth, to have access to that kind of money. And that's also why a lot of people win the lottery. Minute you win the lottery, you're getting phone calls, family members are coming out of the woodwork, people are trying to hit you up because you didn't earn that money, right? That's not your money. You
Well, I
didn't earn
don't
it.
think that's why they are
Well,
hitting
but
you
it's also
up
just because you have a bunch of
necessarily,
money.
but now you have a bunch of money, so why not, right?
Right. But when you go through these years and you really earn it, it's not to say that people don't look at business owners and people who are successful in business kind of the same way. There's plenty of people that are like, "Oh, why do you get that and I don't?" Right? And we could talk about that all day, but the point is you've gone through these difficult years for a reason, right? You're learning what it means to earn this, right? So I was thinking about Beardy Brandon. So he didn't start in boom years. Like Beardy Brandon, that Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets. And if you don't know who he is, go check him out. But he didn't start in a boom year. You know what I mean? He started back in 2007, and and this was just before
The
the
market
crash,
crash.
right? Yeah, just before the market crash. So obviously, if you had a pulse in 2007, they would lend you monies. But he got this little dumpy house, right? And I think he spent like 85 grand on it or whatever. But he got the money for it. He fixed it up, and he ended up selling it because his wife didn't want to live there. It was in kind of like a dumpy area or whatever. And they didn't want to, she didn't want to live there. So he sold the property and made 25,000 bucks and realized at that time, like, holy crap, this is way more money than I could make doing anything else. So he actually quit law school and went full-time real estate investor. But he did it in increments, right? He got his first few units, and he even talks about this, like your first properties in real estate, it's not about making a bunch of cash flow. That's where I think people get it wrong. And I too initially got it wrong. It's like your first few properties are for the learning, and for the experience, and for the for the education slash experience, and for your own uh what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility, right? So those first few homes, so obviously you don't want to lose money. But those first few properties, you could be breaking even. You know what I mean? Like my property right now, I'm not making a bunch of money on that property from cash flow, right? It's paying me maybe 50, it just depends on the month, right? But it's 50 to 100 bucks maybe, right? I'm not getting wealthy off that one property, but I've gotten a S ton of experience from owning that property and managing that property. So that's what your first few properties should be about. And that's what you should be focused on. In fact, like cash flow is a whole that's a whole topic in and of itself. Like, would you think, let me ask you a question, Pansy. Would you think if rent was $1,000 and your mortgage was $800, do you think that that property cash flows $200?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
But why? Why doesn't it cash flow $200?
Well, most likely you have other expenses
Yeah.
because you're the landlord, and
Yeah.
unless you plan on doing everything yourself,
Yeah.
then most likely you have to pay someone else to do that.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
That's right.
and
It's everything else that you're not thinking of. It's the capital expenditures, it's the maintenance. Think about this. You got to buy a new roof every like 10 to 15 years. How much does a roof cost? Costs probably like 15 to 20K, right?
if
So if
not
you got
more,
to,
depends
or
on the
if not
house.
more, if not more. So if you have to buy a roof like in Jacksonville, Florida, where we're looking, you got to buy a new roof about every 10 years because of how much weather and rain happens in Jacksonville. So what does that come out to? And a roof typically in Jacksonville is anywhere between 15 and 20 grand, typically. If you want a decent roof, if you want a nice roof, it's going to be probably 20 to 25 grand. But that comes out to about 2 grand, 2 grand a year, right? So you're spending 2 grand a year, which comes out to about 166 bucks a month. So you're not even considering. So now that 200 bucks that you're getting in cash flow, now you're making like 34 bucks a month in actual pure cash flow.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about that. People don't talk about the pure cash flow. Pure cash flow, think of pure cash flow like the same way you think about gold. Like when you smelt gold, like if you get gold, you smelt it down, you melt it, and that's where you get rid of all the iron and all the other crap in the gold, and that's where you get the pure gold, right? So pure cash flow is after you've run that cash flow through all of the capital expenditures and maintenance and everything else. And that's how you know like actually what you're making in cash flow on that property. And it's very challenging to make a lot of pure cash flow, right? There are ways, there are strategies to do it, but it's, it makes it more challenging to underwrite and to find deals if you're looking at pure cash flow. So the first few deals, like, and even for us, the ones that we're looking at, like, I would not mind if we were making a little bit or even breaking even to get the tax benefits, the appreciation, and the other, and education that comes with it, right? There, at least on the co-living side, yes, it would be very nice to make a couple thousand a month, and that's what we're shooting for in cash flow. But, you know, for our first few deals, they're going to be big learning lessons, right? That's what they are, and that's how we should be kind of treating it. They're building our credibility, they're building our education and experience, and obviously, yes, shoot for cash flow. But the real wealth is built in not just cash flow. It's built in the tax benefits, it's built in the appreciation, the depreciation.
Appreciation.
Yeah, the depreciation, all of that combined is where real wealth is built. In fact, David Green, who's also on Bigger Pockets. He's the one running the podcast now. I think Brandon Turner took off at one point, but David Green's running the show now, and David Green talks about it. He says that cash flow is how does he put it? Um, oh, I'm gonna kick myself. Cash flow is a defensive metric. That's how he puts it. Cash flow is a defensive metric, meaning it's not meant to make you money or to even make you wealthy. It's designed to help you hold on to real estate long enough to become wealthy. That's what cash flow is. Wealth is built on, as the loan gets paid down and the property becomes more, that's where, and you get the appreciation taxes and all that. That's where the real wealth is built. So I'll repeat that. Cash flow is a defensive metric, meaning it's not meant to make you a bunch of money or even make you wealthy. It's designed to help you hold on to that real estate long enough to become wealthy. That's how you got to look at cash flow. Um, and yeah, there's so much that, goes into it, but those are some things that have really helped me kind of change the way I look at real estate. Because again, like when Brandon Turner was buying his first few properties, um, it started to become evident like, oh, okay, I can make some money from each of these properties each month. How many properties would I need to just not have to work? And his number was like 30 properties, right? So if he could make like $100 a month on each property, and we're not talking a ton of cash flow here, right? A lot of people are shooting for thousands in cash flow or whatever, and that, which is nice. But even $100. So how many properties would you need to get in order to just not have to work? And so
I would
obviously,
need more if we're talking $100 a
yeah,
month
well, he only needed 3,000
of
a month to
property.
to survive, right? So
So,
yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, that would probably do well for me. I don't
Well, the
spend a
the number
lot.
nowadays, like yeah,
I'm a minimalist, so I don't,
yeah,
but the average person that probably wouldn't work. But I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, I don't know that several very low cash flowing properties would necessarily be the right strategy. I mean, because you're still putting in work on all those properties, right? Even if you do have somebody managing
Well,
them,
no, you underwrite. So this is the thing, you underwrite to have a property management company running it for you, helping
but
you
you
run it.
still
But yeah,
there's still work involved. I don't
sure,
care if you have a property manager or not. If
sure.
if you unless you're just handing somebody over your stuff and be like, look, you handle it just as long as I see that I have money in the bank every month, I'm
Mhm,
good. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I'm saying
mhm.
the average investor, there's gonna be something involved
Yeah.
in owning properties one
Oh,
way
sure,
or
sure,
another.
sure, sure. Yeah, of
You
course.
know,
But see, this is the thing, you start to own enough, and then you can finally hire some folks to take you out of that picture as much as possible, right? Like Brandon Turner talks about, he hired his mother-in-law to answer the phones because he hated talking to tenants. He's like, I don't want to talk. If I could just not talk to tenants, life would be great,
Yeah,
right? And so he hired his mother-in-law, and his mother-in-law actually really enjoyed it. She actually enjoyed calling and talking to people who owed rent or who were gonna, and helping them figure it out. She enjoyed fielding those phone calls. And his point was like, look, there's somebody out there that loves the thing that you absolutely hate.
I agree. I
And
agree.
so that's where you want to get yourself to, is where you can now delegate to those folks, right? Find those folks and delegate to those folks, right?
I like listening.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Me, not so much, apparently.
That guy earlier that I talked to, that business broker,
Uh-huh.
um, I didn't have to say much. He just kept spilling. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just
Yeah.
sitting back listening. I like calls like that,
Mhm.
like calls where people know what they're talking about. And I really don't have to do a whole lot to get them to spill it, right?
Yeah.
Like spill the tea. Like,
Right.
I really don't mind
Well,
taking
and I
conversation.
will say you're real, like when you get somebody like that, Pansy, like you can learn everything you need to know about that person just by listening to him talk, right? And that's one of Pansy's major strong points. So just know that.
Do I get on the phone with somebody and I'll know their whole life story. But because
Yeah.
we connect in a like I'm 13 years clean and sober. I
Yeah,
can get
nice.
on the phone and they'll be telling me what they're addicted to and all
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
and
yeah.
their all their tribulations that they have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you can learn a ton about somebody just by honestly
by
just let them
listening.
talk. Yeah, let them talk and asking the right questions, asking those open-ended questions about them, not about you. It's not about you, it's about them, and asking them questions and letting them talk, right?
Right.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good
Yeah.
example too. That's a
Yeah.
very good example. Well, and the reason I brought up Beardy Brand is because he did all this work initially, and he started at a time that was not a boom time, built his portfolio up, and then obviously every after that, everybody called him lucky, right? He would hear from people, "Oh man, you're so lucky." He's like, he's not lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it, right? He found something and he got passionate about it, and more than passion, he got consistent. That's what he was talking about too. So it's like, don't worry about the passionate side. You'll know when you're passionate about something when you're waking up at like 3 or 4 in the morning just to get started at it or something like that. But this was like, look, I just needed to be disciplined and consistent and just keep going and keep pushing and keep pushing. And it's like, here's this you're lucky thing. It's kind of like it's sort of the same thing when somebody says, "Oh man, you're so talented." It's like,
Or
yeah, but
must
I
be
spent a lot of time,
nice.
right?
That saying must be nice.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Must be
I
nice. Yeah,
hated
yeah.
that. Like when I was a stay-at-home parent full time, you know, I made time for things, right? Like I had four, five, sometimes more kids
Yeah.
to worry about. But I had people who had jobs and said, "Oh, must be nice."
Hmm.
Yeah,
I,
Hmm.
it was nice, but I
Hmm.
made it that way. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like I had to make it that way.
Yeah.
It didn't just happen.
Hmm. And it's kind of insulting when people say that stuff. It's like you have no idea. You think I'm lucky? You think I'm lucky? There
No,
might be a
there
little
was
bit of
work
luck.
that went into
Yeah.
being able to stay home with my children full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I
I
sacrificed a lot,
What
right?
what was that, Vernon?
I was a stay-at-home mom too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, I
lot
have
of
a
Now I'm
sacrifice.
a stay-at-home grandma. I have
there
two
you
my
go.
granddaughters with me. So
I'm glad you still have the nerves
I
for it. I don't.
yeah, I will ask you something and I set my mind. It'll come back.
That's
No,
okay.
that's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're good.
And you can always message me too later and
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you
if
were
you think of it
I'm
later, for sure.
connected. I always see you, even though sometimes I don't turn on my cameras. I always
That's
do
cool.
it in the the
yeah.
same
Yeah, I
things.
love it. Love it. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for
Yeah.
jumping on with us. Um, but the reason I even bring that up is because for us right now, this is the kind of moment we're in right now. We're in that moment where we're doing those things, doing those difficult things, and building the momentum and the discipline, the consistency and all that, so that when we get to that point, we can look back and say, like, that wasn't, there was maybe a little
That
bit of
was the
luck,
easy
but it was,
part.
and not the easy part, but like that was the needed part. It took Brandon Turner, it took him 7 years before he had his portfolio to a place where he could finally focus purely on real estate. You know what I'm saying?
We're
Like he could
not
put it.
doing that.
No, I'm just saying, but it takes time. It
I
can
know
take
it takes
time.
time,
I'm
but
not saying we're gonna do it that
no,
soon,
we're
but
gonna go a little faster than
yeah,
that
we are.
because
Yes, we
you need
are.
to get out of your W-2
I
because
do.
you drive me crazy that it drives you crazy. Okay.
Well, you know what? The driving me crazy part, I'm grateful for that, for what I do for a living. But you're right. I do need to uh get out of that, right? So, um, but for now, like when I look at the economy and I look at the market and everything, like the economy is not collapsing. You're gonna hear all this doom. Every time you hear something doomy and gloomy about the economy, it's always because somebody's trying to sell you something. Nobody knows fully what's going to happen with the economy, and anybody who's trying to tell you they know exactly what's going to happen with the economy is trying to sell you something. Just remember that,
I
right?
just
It's
look at it like no matter what's been going on,
yeah,
more majority of people just carry on with life like
yes,
nothing,
yes.
and there's gonna be ups, there's gonna be
There's
downs.
gonna be ups and
You
downs.
could
Yeah,
think you could buy at the perfect time and then something happens. You don't freaking know.
don't
And
know.
so then you
Yeah.
sit in fear and not do anything. I don't want to be
Well, that's the worst thing you can
I've
do.
already started over so many times. I don't
Yeah.
even care anymore. I'm like, fuck, like let's go F shit up
Yeah.
and like if we have to start over, then we freaking start
We'll
over.
start over. That's how I feel too. No, but see, you know what though? But you don't have to do that carelessly. And I'm not saying that you're going to
No,
do
I'm
that
not saying
carelessly.
carelessly. I'm just saying though, I don't want
It's
to
a
be
mindset thing.
afraid
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
make mistakes
Yeah.
or try something
Yeah.
just because there's a chance it won't work or
Mhm.
whatever. Like if we have the instructions to do something and
Yeah.
pretty much the backup to do it, like let's freaking do it,
Yeah.
you know. And if it fails, it fails. Screw it. Like I've been through worse at this moment.
Well,
Like
and what is failure though? But
honestly,
what is failure?
I
Failure,
would say failure for like according to me, failure is not getting back up.
yeah,
That
exactly. True
because
failure is giving up. But like the failure you're talking about is just learning. It's just a lesson. It's
yeah,
maybe a
no,
hard lesson, but it's a lesson.
right.
Maybe it's an expensive lesson. I've had expensive lessons.
Me too. I'm currently in one of the most
Yeah, you
expensive
are,
lessons I
but you're not giving up. And that's
No,
the thing
I'm
with
not giving up because I've been through so much already. Like,
yeah.
yeah, this is a little bit more than I've been through in the past, but I've made it through the other situations.
Yep.
I'm making it through this one. Granted, I've had a lot more help this time.
Hmm.
Thank you,
Hmm.
Justin,
Hmm.
and my community,
Hmm.
than I have in the past.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, if I gave up now, it's almost like, you know, how do I know I'm not just that freaking close
Hmm.
after
Yeah.
putting in all of the time and effort and failing
Well,
partnerships?
it's good that you have that mindset. You gotta get that mindset because that's when you learn to move when other people are frozen, right? Like you hear people like Ray Dalio or people like who's the really famous investor guy? I always forget his name. Uh,
Kiyosaki?
Not
Uh,
Kiyosaki, the really famous like
uh,
stock market investor
uh,
guy, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett always talks about, he's like, when everybody's scared, that's when you move. When everybody's excited and buying, that's when you get scared, right?
that's
So,
usually when I end up moving is when I see
yeah,
everybody like freeze at
freaking out,
something
freezing. Yeah.
and then, but a lot of times I look at it like I know exactly what to do here and
Mhm.
take charge. I
Yeah.
would like some of those moments again,
Yeah.
honestly.
But look at what's happened. So like let's look at the facts. Like the economy's not collapsing. It's resetting. Things are resetting. Pressure's starting to ease up a little bit. Markets are finding a little bit of balance. You see that like interest rates are starting to ease off slowly but surely. The Fed is talking about, well, they're already easing up and banks are going to start easing up on availability of capital as well, because whenever the Fed starts to ease up and they start lending again and interest rates start to drop, banks start to ease up as well. So you start getting more and more access to capital. So there's always a push and pull thing going on, but deals are going to be happening again. And in a lot of the markets that we're looking at, it's a buyer's market right now because things are sitting on the market, right? Because people are waiting to see what's going to happen, or interest rates might be still a little bit too high. And the affordability is always, a problem, or it's a problem right now anyway. And so things are sitting. So you have the negotiation power now as a buyer, right? It's a buyer's market in a lot of places. So, but we've seen the other side. I've watched people sit on the sidelines for years waiting for the perfect conditions, right? Lower rates, clear signals, no risk, um, and waiting for like exactly the right moment, which never really comes, right? Never actually happens. What ends up happening is you just sit and you never do anything. And I'm guilty of that too, by the way. Especially when I first started, I needed to understand like every single step, right? But in real estate, especially, you don't. That's not how it works. You don't get to know every single step, right? Unless you want to spend a long time learning transaction coordination and learning all of the different paper. You don't need to, though, is the point, right? In order to do a deal, you don't need to understand every single step. And that's just my sort of like tech engineer brain wanting to know all of the steps. And it's the people that like I've heard Richard Knowles and other people talk about. It's like, look, I know people that can barely tie their shoes that are successful in this, right? And it's simply because they've taken action. They've jumped off the cliff and not knowing what might happen. Um, and they weren't afraid of it, you know. So for us, this is the year for Pansy and I to sharpen our skills. This is a year for us to, learn how to really properly underwrite these deals, and the year to build
I think
stronger
we know how to
relation.
properly underwrite them.
Well, like, really sharpen our
This is
skills in
the
that.
year we're gonna have a portfolio.
Well, and not
We're
try
gonna
to
have some.
time, we're not trying to time the market,
No,
right? We're trying to
no,
build strong relationships, and we're trying to just do the
we're
thing, right?
not trying anything. We're doing.
We're doing the thing.
We're
Okay.
doing.
Thank you for
Quit
clarifying.
throwing trying out there. We're not trying nothing this year. We're doing this
I
year.
like that. So again, if you're listening and you're wondering whether you're behind, you're not late. You're early to the next phase of whatever it is you're doing. Just know that you're
You
just in
can
a
start
phase.
over
Yeah,
at any time,
yeah,
any moment,
yeah,
and yeah, like
yeah. Yeah,
for
I would
real.
say maybe to cap it off, like it's not the year to be reckless. It's the year to be intentional, prepare, and just position yourself. Because again, Brandon Turner and the rest who have been successful, they got to take advantage of when the markets shifted because they put themselves in a position to take advantage of it. And that's what you want. And that's what these years are. It's like these struggle years and figuring things out. You're putting yourself into a position to take advantage when things shift, right? So think you can think of it that way. When the moment finally returns, and it always does, just like Pansy, just like the market goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So when that finally returns, the people who are going to win are the ones who were ready for it, basically, right? Um, and that's what we're about. It's not the only thing we're about, but we're about that. We're about relationships, we're about networking. And that's why we're doing this show. That's why we want to meet, people like Vernon. Is it
Vernine,
Vernine? It's Vernine, right?
Vernine,
Vernine. I
Vernine.
always say your name wrong. Sorry. Vernine. Yeah. But meeting folks like Vernine and Clyde and others, and we want to keep
Many
doing,
awesome
yeah, and
people.
building our community up. And I gotta say, well, we're gonna talk about this now. There's people who've already gotten in, but I think for Pansy and I, we want to. Well, I'll talk to you about this, Pansy, but I think we might want to make it a private group at some point and really make sure that the people we've got coming in align with our
Values.
goals, values, all of that, because that's what that's what makes a good community. When the goal is to just bring in as many people as you can and make as much money as you can, you water it down and that's where you get some of the scummy folks coming in, right? And we don't want that. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, like me, I don't like to exclude people because I feel like sometimes those people need to be shown
yeah, that's true.
how to act. But at the same time, in certain things, I think you do have to be a little exclusive
Discernment,
because you don't want to
discern-
get ripped off, you know?
Vernon, well, I'm sorry, say that again, Vernon.
discernment
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
good.
discernment
Yeah.
for sure.
I like it. Well, you got to do something because if it's open to everyone, that's what you're gonna get. Is you're gonna get everyone, and it's gonna get, um, in my opinion, you're gonna now. There's not really anything you can do necessarily to keep it totally clean because people are gonna do what people do. But the more we vet, the more that we care about the community and the people that are coming in, the better it's going to be for everyone, in my opinion, right? That doesn't mean we want to exclude people. Obviously, we want to give everybody a shot, everybody a chance to jump in, right? Especially those that need it. Um, but I think you and I, at some point, we're going to talk about it. But that's just one of the things, one of the many things that we're discussing right now. But um, I look at my buddy JJ's group and that they've got such a good group of people over there, and everybody does um really take part in what's going on for the most part. Everybody is pretty active over there. Um but again, it's there's no perfect way of dealing with it, of doing that. But I want to avoid our people and our group getting scammed. That's a big one. I don't want scammers. I don't want people taking advantage of people. I want good relationships. I want people who want to come into the community and help bring people up, not to take advantage of them, but to actually legitimately help bring people up, right? Because a lot of people do. Pace talks about this. A lot of people need a coach, not a mentorship or a community. They need a coach.
Yeah,
And those people can be found in a community, right? But there's got to be, just like in anything, there's got to be mutual value there. You've got to both bring some value to the table, right? So.
for sure.
That's my thought on that.
All righty. Well, it's 20 minutes past the hour.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end. But I really do appreciate you guys. It's a new year, so get ready, buckle up, and there's gonna be more to come from our side of this too. We've got some cool collaboration things happening that we're gonna be talking about, and I want you guys to be a part of. Thank you everybody who's been a part of this so far and who's been supporting us. We really appreciate you. We're not stopping. We're only gonna keep
Mhm.
going and getting bigger and badder. So yeah, the get prepared for this next year. Figure out your goals, right? Really figure out what your goal is and stick with it. Don't get distracted. Stick with what your vision and your goal is and keep going. And we're here to help with that too any way we can. So,
Absolutely.
all
Happy
right.
New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys. We're gonna go ahead and end it, but we appreciate all you. Thank you again. See y'all.